What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Yala, your thrice weekly podcast where we talk about the hottest news, which sometimes isn't even that hot, but we still talk about it with a touch of what,
news. Lukewarm news with a touch of like hot humor. Yeah,
hot humor, man.
Yeah, hot
lukewarm.
humor.
Wow, nice choice of words with L and W inside. But we will come to that.
Yeah.
Lukewarm.
Oh, that would be that's a great nickname actually.
Lukewarm.
Now that you mention it, yeah.
We had Sugar Daddy Hang.
Yeah. Maybe it describes more than just the news. That term lukewarm. Yeah.
Lukewarm.
But
yeah. So,
it's one of those. It's midweek, but yeah, seems like a slightly quieter news day.
Quieter news day. I mean, the biggest news, I guess, now there's 11,000 cases, which is twice the number of cases on Monday. And
does that even bat an eyelid anymore? Does anyone even bat an eyelid at all these numbers anymore?
I don't think people bat an eyelid, but I'm noticing in my own social circles, people are going down, man. People are going down like flies.
Yeah. A lot of people are getting COVID. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like the symptoms are not light, right? It's just one by one, man, one by one. So hoping that shit doesn't hit the fan.
Yeah.
But
if it hasn't already, I mean, our hope is that it has already hit the fan, right?
No, but maybe the shit is on the way up to the fan. Like it has already left the bowels, but the shit is on the way up to the fan, and the fan is soon to be like pummeled with a bunch of shit,
Well, I mean, that's where it's really split into 11,000 pieces, right? 11,000 cases. That's what I mean by I hope the shit already hit the fan.
Oh, but did we expect like 15K or something mid-November?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Now it seems like a crapshoot really. Like any number you throw up is possible already.
Yeah, man. Remember the days when we broke 1,000? We're like, oh my god, fuck.
Yeah. Wow. And we were tracing like we had 100 cases, and we were like, oh my god, that's like so scary. It's out there.
Yeah, exactly.
But
but we're in the middle of the week. We do have two topics to talk about. Yeah. But before that, what would you like to plug, Terence?
I mean, we've been growing the audience quite a bit on Spotify. I think we're very excited that there's like over 700 people have actually gone on Spotify and reviewed our podcast. But we're saying that if you can and you haven't done so, please help us leave a rating for us on Spotify, because that helps with the discovery and people who typically think that they don't like to listen to news or to the comedy podcast. This might get fed to them because of your rating. So that helps us out a lot. And do go on Spotify and leave us a rating.
And even if you listen to us on Apple and still live in the 2010s, you can still review us and leave a 5-star rating and ignore the sarcastic comment I just made. So
actually, I don't understand the comment. What's wrong with
I also don't
Apple
understand.
Podcast?
I just
it doesn't make sense.
Halfway through, I was like, okay, this is going nowhere. I need to commit and finish it because
correct.
Yeah, but I should have realized that talking to you, you will never let that slip,
No, I don't. I'm an Apple fanboy. Yeah.
Hey, I'm also an Apple fanboy. But I don't know how many people listen to podcasts on Apple anymore. That was what I was getting at.
I think you'll be quite surprised. The Apple Music is the product is getting better.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, and if Apple wants to do something...
this is not sponsored, but Apple Music, there's certain... we can talk about it later, but there's certain things about it that do still bring me joy and surprises.
Bring you joy and Marie Kondo your ass.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
But why don't we jump into the first lukewarm topic of the day? LW topic of the day. Please, what is it about?
On 18th October, Tuesday, our DPM, Lawrence Wong, he gave a speech at the Singapore Economic Policy Forum. And essentially it was a speech about like what he and his government plan to do to help Singapore keep growing amidst all this turmoil we see in the world, and to also make sure that it's a place that Singaporeans can thrive in. So he outlined a bunch of things. I couldn't find a video of the whole speech, but I read the transcript of the whole speech. I assume you did too.
Yep.
Cool. So, I mean, the first headline that caught my eye was, I think the headline on Straits Times that said Singapore economy does not sufficiently value those doing hands-on and hard work.
Yeah.
But that was just one of the things he pointed out. But what were your thoughts when you saw this article? Or what made you want to talk about it?
I think the fact that there was a bit of buzz about it online. I mean, not just the headline. I think the article itself was focusing a lot on income inequality, and that topic is it's a big topic these days, right? Income inequality in Singapore. So there was a lot of chatter about it online and general buzz about about his speech, and we can go into the details about it. But I think now, because Lawrence Wong is on the cusp of taking over leadership of Singapore, every speech he makes, every move he makes, everyone is watching and trying to understand what his priorities will be when he comes to power. So yeah, that's why I thought, in spite of it being just a speech from a government official without any direct pushback from anybody, I thought, okay, this is worth discussing. What about you? What do you think about it?
I mean, the HUDs and hands-on thing, that one caught my eye. Then I was like, what is this? Then I read the speech, and I mean, yeah, like what you said, he is a very, very public figure now, and it's been a long time since we see a new PM taking charge, right? So this is almost like his first day of PM school, or like first term. First term of PM school is like and it's always nice. I mean, I love reading the stories of artists and entrepreneurs and how they go from not doing what they did to becoming fucking amazing. So at this point, it's nice to just keep tabs on what Lawrence Wong is doing as he takes hold. So that's why, like what you said, anything he says, I think is worth looking at. And just to give context in case y'all are listening and want to get a gist of it, but don't really feel like reading through the transcript. Essentially, he covered like a few main things that Singapore needs to stay open, and what it means by open is open to the world. And kind of that we cannot kind of close off our borders to foreigners or foreign companies. We need them to thrive because we don't have natural resources and no hinterland. So just to take a pause, right? What the fuck is hinterland? I've never heard anyone use the term aside from government speeches. I mean, okay, I can imagine what it is, but why hinterland? It just makes me think of like some snowy place where people are like chattering, no, not chattering, just shivering and trying to survive.
I think you're thinking of winter wonderlands, right?
Hinterland.
No, but I mean, it is a word that I think. I mean, I don't want to generalize and say that it's just academics or officials trying to use a team word to describe. Well, what it is saying is it's part of the country that's away from the coastal areas. You see, so is there a simpler word to use to describe that? You can't really say countryside because that doesn't really necessarily mean that it's away from the coastal areas, So hinterland, I get what he's saying, is away from coastal areas because coastal areas are typically associated with economic growth and trade and exchange. So those are usually like the cities, and where the economy thrives. But the hinterland meaning, the inner parts of the country where people usually go and you think that there's a lower cost of living, life moves a bit slower. We don't have that in Singapore, right? So I'm not that opposed to him using a word like hinterland, and feeling like it's being out of touch. It's literally a word that is much more efficient to use than saying the parts of the parts of the country that are not at the coast.
Then maybe my next question: how come it hasn't made its way into common conversation? Like, hey, where are you going for holiday? Malaysia. Oh, where Malaysia? You mean like the Penang or something? No, the hinterland.
I mean, you illustrator, maybe because people might mistake it for winter wonderland. I'm going to Legoland. I'm going to hinterland.
Hinterland. So yeah, why winterland?
It's one of those words. Yeah, what winterland? Oh no, not winterland. Hinterland.
Malaysia got winter.
No, yeah. Not Winter Wonderland. Yeah, not
Hinterland.
Whistler or anything. No, yeah.
But for
Hinterland.
context, I mean, just to dive in a bit more, hinterland is a German word meaning the land behind. It was used in English, was first documented by the geographer George Chisholm in his Handbook of Commercial Geography in 1888.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay, so it started off here like
Yeah.
British politicians lah. So it's political speak lah.
Correct.
But yes,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So it's not. I'm just saying, don't fan the flames of like of elitism
so
and all that by saying that only elitists use words like that.
No. This is where you
Because if it's a good word, to use. He should use it. You know, of course it's not common, but
this is where you are immediately projecting my thoughts, my non-existent thoughts on it. There was no hint that this is an elitist word. I'm just saying that politicians tend to use it a lot. That does not imply that it's just elite people. So I was wondering, is there something about it that, I don't know, it just evokes, because the only time I remember reading hinterland or hearing hinterland is when a politician speaks. And maybe there's an inner desire to have that part of our day-to-day vernacular lah. So maybe, Terence, I'm going to start using it again. Even yeah, Singapore technically got hinterland, right? MacRitchie, Toa Payoh,
the central area, but that's where it's in Singapore you wouldn't really use it because we're so small, right?
Yeah lah.
So yeah, I mean you can't blame anyone for not using the word hinterland in Singapore lah. Yeah,
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna start using it more.
Yeah, okay. I will ask you how's the climate there? Is it
The
cold?
hinterland.
What are you wearing?
But yeah, okay. So he did say that one thing is that Singapore needs to stay open because no resources, no hinterland, and that there are a lot of policies that sometimes can be populist lah. And he gave the example of Brexit and how that might not be the best thing when you want to be more protectionist than open. Then there was also an emphasis on developing the local workforce through policy, through fair employment practices and skills training. And there was a lot of talk of skills future lah, which was another pillar about how over 660,000 Singaporeans benefited in 2021 and how there's plans to improve it. And they are in the midst of determining how best to improve it. And then for us as a society to realize the value in different types of work. And that's where the term, the hands and heart work came up, about how we shouldn't prioritize academic success or see it as the sole determiner of success. And then he ended off by saying, okay, there's a lot to do, but that is the task of nation building that sits on his shoulders and the rest of his government. So, I mean, it feels like 20, 30 minutes or something. The speech is easy to read. It's not so jargony or technically chim. But yeah. So as you were reading it, right, what were you thinking?
Yeah. I mean, as I was reading it also, it's I think it's interesting to note this point in his ascension towards PM that he's laying down a marker saying that as a society we don't value people who work in so-called the hands-on or hard work like he's saying. And I think it's important to define what he means by hands-on work. He means hands-on work that is a bit more technical. So I think you're talking about the tradesman, craftsman, hands-on kind of work literally the guy who comes and maybe fixes your plumbing or fixes your cupboards and everything in your house right? Or even repairs your expensive $100,000 COE vehicle right? That's the hands-on work that we don't value enough. And then the other side of it is the hard work, which is service and community care roles so I think what falls into that bracket is obviously like nurses, early childhood, teachers, and work that requires a lot of I don't want to use the word because it's very dirty, passion, right? Like you really, I mean, to be a teacher is really tough enough, and to be an early childhood teacher, I think is even harder, right? Because you're balancing not only taking care of children, but also balancing parents' expectations and all these things. So it's not an easy job that's not super highly compensated, in Singapore. So I think he's pointing out these types of work are not valued as highly as typical head, and he says head work, which is work work that requires cognitive abilities, like in working in finance or basically a lot of white collar kind of work, right? Yeah, so I think that it's interesting that he's pointing this out, because if your prime minister or leader is pointing that out, hopefully that also trickles down in terms of all the government agencies and the policy making, right? That leveling, making these two things making these things a priority next to head work is important. Yeah, so in some ways, it's good that he's pointing it out, and it's good that he knows that he knows that this needs to be on the agenda, because this is what a lot of people are thinking about. But at the same time, there's a lot of cynicism online when I read about comments about what he's saying. They're saying that, basically the government has been saying this for the last 10 years, but what is actually happening, right? What can Lawrence Wong really change when he comes to the government? Because you're talking not only just about policies, you're talking about whole mindset that you need to shift in order for this to happen. And where there's a lot of, in Singapore, a lot of these mindsets are set in place by who? They're set in place by the public sector, right? Like how we emphasize scholars and the career progression for scholars versus career progression for, people without degrees, for example. It's very different. If you got any friend who's a regular in the army, they will tell you, there's a term that they love to use called the scholar officer, and I think a farmer officer.
Yeah, farmer,
right?
correct.
Yeah. It's a very common thing where they say, the scholar, there's this career track where, there's a chance for them to become general and chief of army and all that. But for a farmer officer, even if you're a fantastic officer on the ground and all that, just because you're not as educated as a scholar, you will not have those same opportunities. It's widely known, any guy who goes to the army, you have heard those terms before. So, yeah, we're talking about at every level of society, this thinking's entrenched. So, how much can Lawrence Wong, Mr. LW, really do to change all this? A speech like this, sure, great, but the reality on the ground, how much can he really change that, right?
So do you end it with like a bit of cynicism or optimism or a range of emotions? Or
I mean,
you were sleepy?
No. You mean reading this or no? I think I think Lawrence Wong has been pretty. He seems to be reading what's happening on the ground now, right? The things that people are complaining about, and he seems to be responding with it in ways that I have not seen previous prime ministers respond to this. This really makes me feel old that we've seen the changing of the guard.
Changing of the guard, yeah.
From Lee Kuan Yew to Goh Chok Tong to Lee Hsien Loong, and now we're going to see Lee Hsien Loong to Lawrence Wong. So it's the first time that I feel that, any head of state in Singapore has really come forward and acknowledged that inequality is a really bad thing. Is a really bad thing that needs to be tackled in Singapore, and literally pointing out that the first thing he says is the first metric he uses. We see this worryingly in the divergence between the starting pay for ITE, polytechnic, and university graduates. That's like a paragraph by itself in his speech. So it's clear that he's seen a problem. He's identified the metric that he's using to say that this is a problem, and I think that's a big first step to overcoming this societal wide problem. And it might not even happen in our lifetimes, right? Any kind of change. But I mean, someone needs to take a first step, and maybe this is the first step. Of course, everyone wants to see more change and faster, but these things also do take time.
Yeah. So, I mean, when I was reading it, I was like, okay, I mean, these are some, I wouldn't say even lofty goals, like goals that I agree with, and that sound like, okay, this really is going to build a Singapore that is great. Of course, when I read it, I was like, okay, it's a speech. It's of course he would say these kind of things. Then I went to Reddit or like the forums, and I mean, because the articles, I was surprised by how many articles like Straits Times today, and it they just rephrase and copy and paste what he does and paste it there. Like I think now anytime there's a speech or something, if you have some time, it's just, I know they are reporting and all, but at first I thought there would be another layer of things that maybe they have put two and two together after the speech happened, but no, it's a recounting lah. So sometimes it's just better to read the speech lah. So reading through the speech, yeah, it sounded good lah. Then I went to the Reddit and forums to get an idea of what people are saying, and yeah, you're right. There was so many people shitting on it. They're saying it's the rinse and repeat. It's the same thing they've always been saying. And I was thinking like, okay, last time maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago, definitely I wasn't as politically interested lah. But then I also don't recall there being that much chatter ever about things like streaming or inequality than there is now lah, right?
Yes.
So that's why I was thinking, okay, like I also feel, okay, it feels like at least these are things that are being brought out at the highest or soon to be highest level, which has to be a good thing, right? Then I was thinking, but if it's a speech, like some comments were saying, okay, there's all this talk and no action. And I was thinking, but it's a speech. Is he supposed to announce bills and policies at the speech itself? So that's why I was like, I don't know what else a politician can do in a speech to win the crowd over lah. And to convince them, or is it just there's always going to be haters? That's why I'm curious to know people's take on the speech and whether or not it registers or whether it just sounds like a broken record lah. Because these are all, like even in life or like when people are saying they want to do stuff, it's always easy to say you're going to do stuff.
Yeah.
But it's hard to tell whether it's empty or not lah.
Correct. I mean, I say this from the context as we laugh about it having gone through all these changes in Prime Minister, right? We've seen the general mood in the ground. I mean, do you remember back in the day? Okay, let's not pretend to be young. Let's go back to the 2000s. In 2000s, when you and I were bright young,
20-somethings,
kids coming out the teenage, it's coming out as teenagers and getting to the college and maybe just starting to understand the workforce a little bit. That huge emphasis was on biomedical field, right? Remember? And they were encouraging Singaporeans, go and study biomed, we're going to transform our economy with biomedical advances and all that kind of thing, right? So I think I had a lot of friends who went into that field and joined government agencies and all to study that. And then after that, in the late 2000s, there was a very big push towards financial services, investment banking and consulting and all these services that were adding a lot of value to the economy and everyone talked about the futures in financial services and all that, right? And then like you said, in the last 5 to 10 years and all, tech has been a very big part of growth, right? So I think what technology is a big part of was a big part of things, and people are encouraged to study computer engineering and get a job in the tech sector, go and do a startup in San Francisco, and then come back to Singapore, blah blah, all that lah. So if anything, the common thread amongst all this is that there was this sense of Singaporeans need to transform themselves. We need to transform our economy. We need to jump on that bandwagon that's really hot right now because that's the future, right? There was these phases in our economy, I find. And then, so for the future Prime Minister now to, take stock and say, hey, transforming our economy and all that is really important. But there's all these jobs that we have that in the last 2 years have been exposed to be very vulnerable, very underappreciated, underpaid and all that. Feels like it feels like a change. It feels like I wouldn't say breath of fresh air, but it's not that kind of like, we need to transform Singapore economy to be the cryptocurrency center of the world, that kind of statement, right? It feels more like we understand growth is important, but there's also all these other jobs that have always been there, that have always been underappreciated and underpaid, that are important So maybe what I'm painting is a very broad stroke of what the government has been emphasizing on, but that's why to me it feels like, hey, this is not a normal thing that you would hear Singapore Prime Minister emphasizing on, right? And that's why it does jump out to me as like, okay, the cynical side is like, let's just talk. But the fact that it's a big policy speech and it's very clear that this is something he's promising that he will work on is a big deal.
Yeah. And the example you brought about life sciences, I was one of those students, that I heard,
Yeah,
hey, there's a push and all. I was somewhat interested in biology. Even though I remember the textbooks in JC, the moment I saw the thickness, I was like, fuck biology lah. I don't need to know what's going on inside. But I wanted to pursue.
It's not bio. It's bioengineering,
Yeah,
right?
correct. Bioengineering, life sciences.
Can you explain to people what is the difference between, like, say, studying medicine and then studying bioengineering? For those who might not know.
At that point in time, medicine, which was a very clear path, you learn about the body, but it's about
healing the body.
Healing the body, treating illnesses. Doctor and specializing in what is like almost the body of knowledge that has grown over the years. Bioengineering, life sciences. I know reading at that time, I did find the whole genetic space very interesting, because that was the first time the genetic sequence was decoded or mapped. There was Dolly, the sheep, and there was a general interest, and I had no clue what the fuck I wanted to study. So I actually wanted to pursue that as a degree. But the only reason why I chose mechanical engineering was because the scholarship that I got, they said, fuck you, you're not going to study bioengineering because we are Singapore Airlines. So that wasn't an option. So I went to mechanical engineering. But I bring that up because these sort of things, if they do gather momentum, sentiments from the people in power, if they do gather momentum, it does affect the people on the ground, like students. So that's why that's why I was reading this, and like part of me also was like, wait, am I not shitting on this? How can I not shit on a speech? But taking into a context of what it was a speech at an event. It didn't say anything that I desperately disagreed with. So I have to say, okay, now it is to hold him and his government accountable to these sort of things, and to be very cognizant of any policies they enact that contradict this. Because I think, talking about, streaming, talking about teachers, increasing the wages of teachers, they're all great stuff that you don't normally hear in speeches. Because I also remember last time the speeches were very it's almost, let's not look internally within what we have in Singapore. Let's not look to the hinterlands of Toa Payoh and Ang Mo Kio, but look to other countries. But then this one, he's like, okay, we still look at other countries, but there's some shit in Singapore that we need to sort out, and we focus on that.
Yeah. And I think it's very heartening for a parent of a young child like me, with other parents of young children, to hear that more recognition needs to be given to early childhood development, right?
Yeah.
Because those taking care of kids is not an easy task, and often, a lot of times when I see the teachers in preschool and all, they're really it's not easy for them. They have, literally, I heard from them that there was no such thing as working from home for them, through the whole pandemic and everything. Of course, there were days when the school had closed down and stuff like that, right? But the moment anything started opening up again, there was zero work from home from them already. And we are arguing and complaining amongst each other about employers not giving enough priority. They only, everyone's starting to force us to, work, to have to come back from the office and all that. Come back to the office, and I cannot work from home anymore. This early childhood educators had no work from home at all.
Correct. No hybrid
There's
model.
no such thing. I was like, they asked me, Daddy, are you working today? And I'm like, yeah, I'm working, but working from home. And then there's this air of so envious to even experience what is it like to work from home,
You work from home privilege, is it?
Yeah, work from home privilege. So I was like, fuck, this guy's to them is like I'm speaking a different language when I say something like working from home,
So I guess people
they have no concept of it, yeah.
So people in those lines, you hear so many people say this whole experience of working from home made me realize how important it is to be with family. All these people are like, fuck off.
Fuck you, work from
Nothing
home.
changed for us. You all shut the fuck up with your epiphanies and enlightenments and how much you love your family and shit.
Commentaries about living slower and reading a Monaco magazine at home.
Quiet quitting. Fuck you.
Quiet quitting.
Shut up.
Yeah. Shut up. Yeah, I mean, nurses, obviously, right? Nurses last 2 years. And caretaker, home caretakers, right? Caregivers. It's tough, so those things that we've taken for granted for the last 2 years, like some of these people just cannot experience it.
Even
Yeah.
no, go on, go on.
What? No, I'm saying, yeah, and teachers, obviously. Teachers always they've always borne the brunt of like the whole home-based learning issue as well. So all these things it's real. They're real difficult jobs that were especially exposed during the whole pandemic. And now that even post-pandemic, now that there's a government official, high-ranking government official saying, hey, we still need to remember that these jobs are essential and we need to do better by them. I think it's a good thing. That means they haven't forgotten the lessons of COVID-19.
Yeah. But the one thing that did strike me as like, there's no other term. I don't know why I'm getting so caught up on the terms. Was the head work versus the hands or hard work?
Yes.
I just felt it like.
I think I know what you're thinking, B1. Yeah.
Basically verbatim, he said, okay, we need to see broader change in our economy too. It still places too much of a premium on cognitive abilities, what we deem as head work, in inverted commas, head, and does not value sufficiently those engaging in other forms of work, such as technical roles, which tend to be more hands-on work, or service and community care roles, which tend to be more hard work. So that one feels a bit, I want to say discriminatory, but a bit exclusive. Because people in technical roles, they fucking use their brains like crazy, right? They use their hands also, yes. People in service and community care roles, they also have to use their brains. Maybe it is not. Yeah, you have to use so much brains. So that definition was probably the only thing in the speech where I'm like, hey, really got no better term. Hinterland, I can let it slide. These kind of things, right? I don't know. Like when you read it, did it strike a chord or anything?
Yeah. I think I feel the same in the sense that to say that certain types of jobs require cognitive abilities kind of makes it sound like those other jobs, the hearts and the hands work, don't need cognitive abilities. I'm like, oh, do you want someone not using their head when they are fixing your car, repairing your car, or fixing your house or something?
Or taking care of your mother.
If anything, is they are using their hands and the head, compared to a job where you're just really sitting in front of a computer and just your only hand movement is to type on the keyboard, right?
Yeah.
Or to talk to somebody or what. So yeah, I think it's important to acknowledge as well that these jobs do require cognitive abilities. Of course, you're not doing like deep AI learning or massive coding or something, but they do require those same cognitive abilities that he's talking about, in just a different field, and maybe you're not creating new things, but you are definitely engaging your brain to make decisions on the spot, to make decisions on your feet and all that, right?
Yeah, exactly. In fact, you could even argue that people who are desk bound and just work through the computer, they like what you said, they're not moving around. Maybe they're not dealing with people. So to deal with people in a way that works, to deal with your hands and fix stuff, it requires so much of your brains. Maybe it doesn't require because he did say at some point we shouldn't place a priority on academic success. We must move away from preconceptions that academic success should be prized above all others. But then, academic success is head work, right? And you do say that there's too much emphasis on head work, but it feels like head work is the only way to get forward. While there might be some truth, get ahead, correct?
Yeah.
There might be some reality to that. It just felt like in a speech that covered a lot of other things which were heartening. When I read this, I was like, Then Straits Times also, they know they put in the title, it will trigger people. It will trigger people.
Yeah.
But that's why I don't know whether...
But I mean... you are a scholar, you were a scholar, right? So you benefited from that experience of...
Totally.
Of being seen as the head worker in a very big organization, right? That also hires a lot of technical workers and service staff as well, right? So did you feel that kind of stratification when you're working in a big company like that? There's a difference between the head workers, the hard workers, and the hand workers.
I mean, because it was so big, the stratification is normally even just departments, Like you wouldn't interact with the tech crew people because they were all at the hangar. or even if
but
they were
was
in
there
office.
did you feel some kind of hierarchy between the different departments and all?
A
From your
little
own
bit,
personal
yeah,
experience,
no,
I
a
don't
little
think you're
bit,
not. Yeah, let's just put a
yeah,
disclaimer. You're not talking as if that is how it is, but I'm just
correct.
asking from your experience because you were scholar lah, right? Literally, we talk about scholar. You were a scholar lah that was like gifted the chance to study hard and come back and be the head worker in the organization.
And then what happened? I threw away my head work, and now we're doing what work is this? Mouth work, is it? This is mouth work.
Mouth work.
Mouth work.
And somehow that sounds a bit different from what I think
We're
they're
doing
trying to imply.
mouth
Mouth work.
I gave away the head work that was waiting for me, and now I engage my mouth. But I would say there was, to a certain extent, in the sense that you come from the office and then you go on the ground. I mean, even physically, geographically, you come down from your office on the 5th floor to the ground.
Yeah.
And the crew, the tech crew, whatever. So there is that, and it's one of those things that I don't think it was intentional, but just by virtue of the big company, it did feel a bit like that. I will say that the one thing that I did feel a bit more is that if you're a scholar, you do have a label that follows you around, which by the most part is beneficial. Because
beneficial to you lah.
Immediately
beneficial to you.
Yeah, it's beneficial to you. I won't deny that. In the sense that it gives you. It's almost like you are competent unless proven otherwise. As opposed to maybe if you are starting from more neutral where you have to prove your competence. On the flip side, there's more of a microscope on you lah. But it's pros and cons. Like, I won't deny that getting the scholarship helped me study at a school that was amazing. There was no way I could have afforded any other way. So to shit on that system also, that one I'm conflicted, because by as far as possible, I mean, it wasn't just like I wasn't just parachuted into that lah, right?
Yeah, but was there a chance? Yeah. But was there a chance for you as a scholar to maybe you know how I think in banks and all that they have this management roles, track lah, right? Where they do rotate people around different departments in a bank lah. That's what I understand from people who've done that and all. And then they put you through some specialized training, like they even from what I hear, even these days they even set you up with like mentoring coaches and stuff like that to help you plan out your career a little better lah as a management trainee and all. But for you working in a place that had all kinds of hands, heart, and service work and hands, heart, and head work, was there a chance for you as a head worker, to potentially rotate between departments such that you better understand stuff on the ground and better understand, the problems that people have on the ground and all?
Oh yeah, a big part of the policy there, even for non-scholars, was to rotate. So every 2 years, you kind of change department, which was a good thing.
Okay.
I think,
but you rotate between the head work departments, or do you also get to like put on overalls and go on the ground and
no, it's mainly just the office work. Because
so you rotate between the head work departments lah.
Yeah, it's just you take off your head, you put on your head on another body, you never put it. But the reason also is because aviation, like the technical people there have been like in the technical space for 20 years, and because they're handling planes where safety is fucking important, there's less leeway to play lah. And I mean, I will say that the SIA system, it didn't fit me, but I know people who stayed on and are doing very well at SIA. And they worked there. They've done all the different roles. They've traveled abroad, been stationed abroad. So it worked for them. So I won't shit on the company or the thing. It still gave me a great opportunity, but it did result in some sort of labeling lah, some labeling, which is where I guess Lawrence Wong saying that streaming will be phased out and it'll be based more on subject streaming. That makes sense. But I know that got shat on also online by saying it's still streaming nonetheless, right? So
yeah, but I think what it's pointing towards means that you can maybe be placed in a band that is a higher band for, say, mathematics. Like you're good at mathematics, but your languages suck. Then you can go down to you go to a lower band for languages lah. And that, whereas last time it used to be like, oh, let's look at your average score, and based on your average score, this is the band that you're in. And that doesn't make give you space for individual differences or individual paces of learning, right?
Correct. And it doesn't encourage you to, wow, if you're really good at one thing, never mind, you just go all out with that. It was almost okay. If your math is okay, then you focus on your Malay or mother tongue or something like that.
Yeah, improve all the stuff that you're pretty bad at, because it's pulling you down.
Yeah,
it's pulling your average down, and so you're not good enough to go to the good classes, but you just need to work on the stuff that you're weak at,
Yeah. So be a jack of all trades,
in some sense,
be a jack of all trades.
Correct. Yeah, and unless you are good at everything, you don't deserve to join competitions or represent the school in certain things, right? Yeah. So I think that's actually a very good point. It's kind of, I think some people are pointing out that the answer to streaming, the bad sides of streaming is to introduce more streaming.
Oh yeah.
So but I can see the pros of doing it, to encourage students to that you can be pretty shitty in one subject, but maybe you are not too bad at another subject, and maybe pursue that, and that will maybe even help more young people find their paths faster and earlier, right?
Yeah,
find
exactly.
the things that they're interested in faster and earlier. Yeah,
exactly. So I mean, like I think I'm really curious to know how people feel, and I mean, even when they listen to this or read the script, because when I was thinking, oh, it's not too bad, I was like, wait, am I being an apologist, a government apologist?
Yeah.
But objectively, I thought, okay, it's a good message. Now it's to hold them accountable to this. Print it out, tattoo it on your body, whatever. But it's just to keep reminding ourselves that just like there was those pushes in the past for life sciences, at one point everything was life sciences. Then it became like finance. Now it's startup. Hopefully this actually comes to fruition, lah.
Yeah. I think holding them accountable to these things is important, lah. And like try to ask the questions, the right questions. Rather, I mean, it's easy to be cynical about it and to say, oh, these are just motherhood speeches that don't mean anything. But I think there's very actionable things that you can be asking about, like like I think Lawrence Wong is really pointing out the pay gap between degree holders and IT students and all that, right? Why is there such a huge pay gap, and why is it growing bigger year by year? You can ask these questions.
Correct.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I mean, that was our LW Lawrence Wong talking on that first lukewarm news topic of the day.
Yeah.
But don't be lukewarm in your response about it. Tell us what you think.
Yes.
But yeah, speaking of lukewarm responses, this next topic, or this next movie has not got a very lukewarm response from the Singapore government at all, right? In fact, if anything, it's been the opposite, a very fiery response.
Yeah.
And what is this movie you're talking about?
It is a new film by a Singaporean filmmaker called Ken Kwek. It's not his first film. He's done films in the past, web series in the past, all relatively controversial. So this film, Look at Me, it has been banned from screening in Singapore because it was deemed, and I quote, as having the potential to cause enmity and social division in Singapore's multiracial and multi-religious society. And that was a statement from the Ministry of Home Affairs, Ministry of Culture, Community and Youth, and the IMDA, the Media Development Authority, Infocom Media Development Authority. So, I mean, it also premiered at the New York Asian Film Festival, got one of the nominees for Best Feature. And the story essentially is about how the main character, I think he posts a video making fun of a pastor's stance on homosexuality. And then what the pastor does on the pulpit versus off, and then he goes viral, and then he gets jailed. Then there are protests, and essentially what you can imagine happening in a society like Singapore. And it stars Adrian Pang, and a few other big name folks like Hossein Leong also.
Correct. Yeah. And it's it says that it's inspired by true events, right? It's not based on true events, but inspired by true events. So what are your? Have you seen the trailer?
I saw the trailer. I actually like the trailer.
Yeah. What are your thoughts about it? Like, what do you think it's about? Because the truth is, we have not watched the movie. Yeah. And all we are getting from it is what we're reading about it, and also watching the trailer as well. So we're also reacting to it for the first time.
Yeah, when I saw the trailer, one of the thoughts was that I saw Rishi, I saw Fuzz. I'm like, why the fuck am I not in it? I did have that thought. I know it's very self-centered, but I met Ken Kwek before. So Ken, if you're listening to this, I like this kind of genre. I mean, okay, fuck that. But yeah, I actually thought the trailer was pretty cool and pretty different and pretty interesting coming out of Singapore.
Yeah. I think if anything, I can kind of see the what True Events is inspired by. There's definitely a hint of Amos E going on.
Correct.
Of course, there's a hint of Lawrence Wong going on, and I think the poster for the movie also is it's a hashtag lah, right? There's a logo, there's a hashtag, but the hashtag is very deliberately colored in a way that what you will see as within the hashtag is a white cross, and the rest of the hashtag is rainbow colored lah, right? So it's kind of telling you what what the antagonists and protagonists are going to be in the film and everything lah. So definitely an interesting subject matter lah, right? Amos E and Lawrence Wong, all these are very big personalities that were very divisive in the last 10 years in Singapore lah, right?
Yeah.
So it's something that I think would be interesting to watch lah. But now it seems like like what we spoke about previously, about Vogue Singapore, the Streisand effect. It seems that is taking hold here lah, right?
Yeah, man. And I mean, honestly, right, you Google Look at Me film, right? In the past 2 days or 1 day, it appeared on CNA. Local film, Look at Me barred from screening in Singapore over potential to cause social division. It appeared in Yahoo News Singapore. Ken Kwek film, Look at Me, banned in Singapore over potential to cause social division. Variety covered it. Mothership covered it. Straits Times covered it. South China Morning Post covered it. The Online Citizen Asia covered it. So it just feels exactly the Streisand effect. Even on Reddit, someone posted the trailer, and a lot of people are saying they would never have heard about this movie, but now they want to watch it lah.
Yeah.
Right.
They've given it its biggest boost lah, right?
Yeah.
The biggest publicity push.
So it's great. Like, it's great marketing, and I'm damn happy for Ken Kwek and the rest of his team. I hope that this ultimately is a net positive thing for them, because I can imagine there are like more crosshairs on them, and I don't know, just watch the trailer. I actually like the trailer a lot, and I think the actors in it are all damn good.
Yeah. I think it's hard to say whether the film is good or what, just based on the trailer and all that. But I would say that in terms of the timing of this announcement, given that it's in participating in a film festival and probably up for awards and that if you want a better, if there's any kind of publicity push that you want for your film at international film festivals, nothing beats your film being banned by the local government, right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
That as a story, you bring it to an international film festival, everyone just jizzes the moment they hear that lah. Oh, this film is banned in Singapore. My God, I have to watch it, and such that I can be part of this movement lah, right?
Yeah.
So deliberate or not, whether they were stoking those flames, it's like you say a net positive for them lah, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, because you look, there are statements from 3 ministries, and this is where, like we spoke about in the previous podcast also, right? Can they not take a stand if there's a range of complaints? I don't think they can ignore it, but by taking a stand, you kind of have to, you address it, and then
no, but I think this film hasn't even been released yet, so there can't possibly have been public complaints about it yet. It's purely from IMDA's side. When they submit the film for classification,
that's a good point.
It's IMDA's side that decided, that the censorship board that decided this is not fit for consumption by people in Singapore. So it's not even complaints. They're not reacting to complaints. It's a preemptive strike, if anything,
it's
right?
Preemptive strike.
Yeah, but the irony is that a film like this, right? Even if released in Singapore, even if reviewed fantastically by people who watch it all, it would not have made a huge dent at the box office. I'm pretty confident, right?
Yeah.
It's not the kind of film that Singaporeans would pay money and go to a cinema to watch, right?
Yeah,
So
correct.
really, like what you're foregoing in terms of a local screening and local audiences here, you're getting a lot more international publicity for your film by having it get banned, lah. And if like what you said, it is a much more bigger net positive for them, lor. Like I'm not sad for them that they can't show it in cinemas here, because to be honest, it's like, like I don't think it would have done well at the box office here because of our audience and demographic and all that as well, lah. So this is the next best alternative for them, lor.
Yeah, and I mean, I think all the people in the show, they are media savvy, and you can almost predict that this will get issues, that this will ruffle some feathers, and that in itself is marketing, right?
Yeah, correct.
It's just marketing.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, like, let's say if there was stuff that could be deemed seditious or a potential harassment to a specific community or religious group, then how?
So that's why I'm interested to watch the film. The like you said, the trailer looks interesting, but I wouldn't blanket just say that it'll be good and it's a good thing, lah, that that
It's a good, yeah.
Because you don't know the actual content of the film itself yet, lah. I think, as an example, I recently watched Blonde, the supposedly fictional film based on Marilyn Monroe, that is out on Netflix now, and it's very polarizing, lah, I think, to say the least, the response to it. And I hated it, lah. I couldn't get through it, lah. I got through it, but I couldn't stand it, lah. And it's not necessarily because I felt like, oh, it needs to be, they were doing Marilyn Monroe's story a disservice by having a lot of fictionalized scenarios and everything. And I think the film acknowledges that a lot of these scenarios that I imagined in the filmmaker's head are not real, lah, right? They didn't actually happen, but this is what their interpretation of things. But I just felt like it was not a fun watch, lah. It was not. I'm not saying that it needs to be fun, but I'm just saying it's not a good story, lah. The story told is just not good. It's just not a good show to sit through. It's just not something that you sit through and makes you think or anything, lah. I just felt it was just a lot of interesting looking vignettes about Marilyn Monroe's life, and I think the actress did a fantastic job, becoming Marilyn Monroe. But the whole story itself, I just felt very let down, and even like to the point where I felt like certain scenes, the CGI was like very, very cheaply done, lah. So my point is that, a film might be controversial, it might be trying to make a point about certain things, but doesn't necessarily mean that it's a good film either, lor. And in certain points, I felt like the film even should have certain trigger warnings about the scenes that it's showing, because they're very graphic, very disturbing, as well, and it's not an easy watch. So, like what you're saying about Look at Me, maybe it's really, what if there's this element that it's really it'll be really difficult for certain groups of people to watch. And I mean, even yourself, right? Like I think you've come to be a bit more to have a slightly more nuanced view about religion, right? And people, and what the role it plays in people's lives. So what if this show is very offensive to certain groups like that, lah? Would you support it in the same way?
Yeah. So I mean, I think we both know of certain shows that even like it wasn't controversial, but there was a lot of buzz because of how out there it was going to be, right? How edgy it was going to be. But when like I watch shows like that, at the end of it, I'm like, what the fuck was that? It just checked all the boxes of everything that needs to be edgy, needs to be like, oh, like something we've never seen before. But at the end of it, it's not a good story, lah.
Yeah.
So that's where like yeah. So I'm curious. I think the trailer was better than I expected. I think the actors in it, they're all good as individuals. But yeah, I'm curious to see. But either way, I'm curious to watch the movie. I'm curious to watch a movie. And that's what the government is gonna have to struggle with, lah.
Yeah, that they've opened this can of worms that has made a lot of people want to watch the show, lah. And my guess is a lot of people will watch it and be like, huh, like that only,
Oh, you think
like
so?
that only, and then man, I think so lah. I have this feeling that it's gonna be like that, and then like that only in the sense that people won't understand what's the big deal that you need to like go out and ban the
Censor
show.
like that, yeah.
Yeah. So it's I mean it'll be the Streisand effect demonstrated lor. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
when there was another local show that we heard, was very edgy, M18 and all that because of one scene.
Yeah.
And then we watched the scene and we're like, oh, really? Remember?
Yeah.
That was considered like super racy. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I see.
But yeah, lah.
Yeah, man.
Streisand effect at work again. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool, man.
Cool.
Yeah. Cool.
But speaking of yeah, I mean just talking about chatter online about certain things. What is your one Shiok comment the last few days?
Yeah. My one Shiok comment was so someone, it was just a theory posted by Original Goat One 2 days ago.
Yep.
Yeah. On the episode we did about the Vogue magazine lah. So it was like so like what the user pointed out is that Vogue Singapore, they published an article about 3 generations of women activists in Singapore. Their permit gets cancelled, which is what we were talking about previously, and then MHA apparently appended a reply appended to the article. So it's it was just a theory that I haven't dug into deep, but I just thought like, I love it when people post stuff like that makes us want to think and makes us go out there and look for more info lah. But the appended, so it was appended. That means what? The Ministry of Home Affairs is listed at the bottom, which it is. So
no, I think it was an article about the death penalty, about activists who are fighting against the death penalty, I believe. I think one of them was Kirsten Han. She was profiled in that Vogue Singapore piece. Yeah. And then the MHA replied to that article, stating certain points that were counter to what was talked about in the article. Yeah.
Oh, that was interesting, interesting. So so if you ever noticed this sort of little ripples in pop culture or news, just hit us up, man. So that was my one Shiok thing lah.
Yeah.
One Shiok comment.
The one Shiok thing or one Shiok comment?
One Shiok comment.
I think my one Shiok comment is, remember the last podcast we talked about having a poll about how people pronounce 2007, the year 2007.
What's the deal?
Either 2007 or 2007. We set a poll out there. It's still ongoing. I think it's still at least a day left to vote. So people, please do go on Reddit and vote about it. But I think there's already like one comment in there that says by Beef Goulash, who says 2007. Who the fuck says 2007? Smiley face. So there's already people who have very strong opinions about this, and I'm just like rubbing my hands gleefully because I think that be ready for a pleasant surprise, Mr. Beef Goulash.
I mean, there are other comments.
Ready for a pleasant surprise.
There are other comments also. Most of I think people usually say 2007. Yeah. So it's do you put a poll on Instagram also? I think you did, right?
Oh, not Instagram yet. Not yet. Yeah.
Okay, we'll put it on Instagram.
Right now it's on Reddit, and
a good number
about
of
2
votes.
days
Awesome.
and 65 votes already. 65 people have come forward and told us what is the, not say correct, but what is the more common pronunciation. Yeah.
Hey, common is
and I think I put that 2007, but actually I think what we mean is just 2007 lah, right? The end, you don't really need to say the end lah. Yeah. Yeah, correct. But do continue to vote.
I noticed the O in 07 you put OH, like almost like
No, just pronunciation to 2007. Yeah,
you can
because
you can just
the
put
way you said it that really stood out.
You can put an O without a H, right? O is like when you say like when you are surprised. So as you're saying, like when someone is saying it halfway, you're like, oh, am I saying the wrong thing? No, you should put without a H. Okay, you should put without a H.
What's the view and criticizing people's language today? Lawrence Wong say hinterland, you make such a big fuss about it. People say 2007, you also like
2007. 2007. Yeah, okay, but put your votes. We'll put it on Instagram also lah. We'll put it on Instagram.
Yes. Yep.
But yeah. And then
And what is your one Shiok thing?
my one Shiok thing is a recent YouTuber that I chanced on called Alex Hormozy. So he's someone. So okay, like in certain points in the past, I was listening to people like Gary Vee and all. And after that, I got a bit of a. So he's next in line of that. So he's like a guy who had his own company. I think sold it for a bunch of $1 million, and then now he started creating content, just talking about philosophies of business, but also philosophies of life and friendships and all that. And he does a good job with like YouTube shorts, so short videos. And also slightly maybe 2 to 3 minute videos and 10-minute videos lah. And I think he's interesting. I like the way he does content. He's not as like non-stop energy like Gary Vee. And I think I'm going to be consuming his content in the short term for quite a bit lah. Quite interesting. Yeah, like here's how to double your business. Like why
I see.
why people shouldn't be afraid of like friends evolving as you grow older. So clickbaity titles, yes.
So it's not just business lah. It's not just business.
It's
also
not
like
just business.
how to live your life.
Yeah, how to live your life.
How to live your life as an adult in this world that we are in today, lah, right?
Yeah, and I am generally very curious about people who have built stuff from scratch, built businesses, built brands, built YouTube channels, whatever. And when they are willing to offer pieces of info that I've found, hey, that's interesting. Yeah, I enjoy it. So Alex Hormozy.
Interesting.
And what about you?
Mine is a Netflix show that I never thought that I would watch, but I ended up consuming quite a bit lah. And it's a very quick, easy watch lah. The name is called Easy Bake Battle, the home cooking competition. So it's actually a cooking show, and I actually never watch cooking shows lah, because I'm not cooking competitions, reality cooking competitions. I'm not a fan of those lah. But this one I thought was interesting because it's focusing on home cooks lah. That means people who housewives, people who cook as a hobby, and they are put in an environment where they have to, cook like with very home cooked kind of equipment and scenarios. So it's hosted by Anthony, who is, I think he's one of the guys from Queer Eye for a Straight Guy, the reboot. And he has this uncanny resemblance to John Mayer. I don't know if people might remember him from that show. But he's an uncanny resemblance to John Mayer. And one interesting thing about their approach as judges, him and a guest judge on every episode. Interesting approach is that they don't, how cooking competitions, they criticize the hell out of everything, right? And like Gordon Ramsay and all that, like they're like cursing and swearing at you and just talking about how shit your food is. This one's the exact opposite. It's the very Gen Y mode of like, they basically have a good thing. Yeah, they have good things to say about everybody's food. And if anything, they very gently offer critiques on certain things you could have done better and all. So it's a very like, very, you tried your best and, this, I can really see your heart into it. So it's a very different approach to cooking competitions where it is stressful, but at the end of it, people don't get skewered and put on and blasted for their choices, and so like for example, one of the really interesting episodes recently was like, you got to cook a meal, but all you can cook with are stuff that you would find in a hotel room, like a coffee machine and an iron and like a water heater. That's it. That's all you can cook with for a full meal. And it's pretty amazing seeing what these home cooks and stay-at-home moms can come up with just with these utensils. So we've always heard about the life hacks that you can do in a hotel room, to make a meal for yourself when you're traveling or whatever. This is a cooking competition based on those kind of life hacks.
Oh, so you went. So
that's quite interesting.
So Blonde was so bad that you needed to watch reality cooking.
Yeah, I needed to cleanse my soul of all this deep, theatrical, what do you call it? What are these biopics of like of Marilyn Monroe and serial killers and everything by going the opposite of watching a cooking show. Easy Big Battle. Not even a regular cooking show. It's such a chill, like lo-fi kind of cooking show. Yeah.
Where people are nice. And I mean, I actually enjoy watching cooking shows, but I realized that I don't like the cooking shows where the judges are nice. As horrible as that sounds,
you don't like
MasterChef Australia, right? I cannot take it. Everything is like, oh, this is amazing. The flavor is great. But no, I
Yeah.
want to see the fucking drama, the contestants hating each other and all that. So I
Yeah.
do the Bake Off. Yeah, I'll watch a trailer.
Yeah, do check it out. Because even the contestants are all generally mums and hobbyists and all that. So they're all really nice to each other. And also it's a very different feel to a cooking show, I find.
Wow. Well, actually, yeah, that's a good way to rate a show. Like, what is the next show you watch? Right. If it's something
The next, what do you mean?
The next show, like you finish a series, what's the next series you watch? Like, if it's a complete opposite, right? Then you know that the other show maybe not the best, lah.
Yeah. It tells you something about how you felt towards the end of that show, lah. Like, do you go and seek out more shows like this?
Yeah.
Or do you like go in the opposite direction, lah? Right?
Yeah, exactly. But cool, man.
Cool.
That was our midweek episode. And remember, check out the poll on Reddit and soon to be Instagram. And we will reveal it the next episode, right? 2007 or 2007.
Yeah. 2007. No, not N7. I think we take out the N. Yeah,
no, you cannot change. You cannot change. Yeah,
it was a typo.
No, I'm saying 2007. Okay, no, don't give me this typo nonsense. So
can. I'll let you continue your 2007.
2007.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're back to the hinterlands to rest.
Back to the hinterlands, man.
We'll see everyone.
Rest our mouths, the heavy mouth work. Yeah. All right, man, guys. Peace.